You're listening to Globally Speaking with Christopher Bennett every Saturday from 11 to 12 noon right here on globalnewsforum.com.
And we're back. Going to go into our topic. What the hell do you want? What the hell do you want? Now, this is the thing. Ever since the days of Reconstruction, the African American community knew exactly what they wanted and was well equipped to articulate their list of demands for the betterment of their conditions. Back in 1972, Gary, Indiana hosted the Black National Convention. It was one of the most well-structured and organized events of its time that is still being talked about to this very day. Some of the greatest minds in politics, along with intellectuals and community leaders, put together an agenda that was considered a work of art towards progress for the people of color in this country. Since then, every 4 years leading up to the presidential elections, African Americans have either created an agenda or exchanged dialogue regarding our needs for empowerment and acceptance into the so-called American dream. Those efforts were necessary because every 4 years our conditions of being at the bottom of the food chain has remained unmoved. Don't get me wrong, there were a few success stories here and there, but overall, nothing has changed for the betterment of the African Americans as a whole. Instead, what we have witnessed were a few of us getting through the cracks to leave the rest of us behind, with no intentions of reaching back. Well, here we are at 2012, and it's no different, because the demands that were made back in 1972 are still alive and well. The concerns that were brought to the table has remained there. However, now they are covered with mold and mildew. The only thing that has changed is creating a list of demands for our hunger of seeking empowerment and our contentment we are experiencing of being placed at the bottom of the food chain. And like I said last week, see, this is when you take the responsibility off the shoulders of the president. This is when you take the responsibilities off President Obama. Because if I was President Obama, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you talking to you today. Y'all would be celebrating the anniversary of my assassination. Why? Because this president here would have made sure to push reparations right through the door. Coming through the door. What the white folks feared, yeah, I would have brought that to fear. Reparations for all African Americans throughout the nation. That would have went through the door. Hi-ya, I'm gone. However, hopefully that was already put in place. But if I was President Obama and I'm sitting at my desk on the west wing, north wing, whatever wing you want to call it, whatever wing that looks out that window and see the hood just across the street other than the black community, whatever window he's sitting from, and he looks out and he sees right across the street in D.C., one of the crack selling corners right there, and he'll say, man, those brothers and sisters need help. They need to be taken out of that condition in which they're living in. But when I look on my desk as president, I don't see a damn thing. I don't see no agenda. I don't see no demands coming from the African American community of what they want me to do to help them. I gathered demands from the immigrants. They want to ask for the DREAM Act. They want immigration. I see demands from the gay community, want same-sex marriages, and they want to be able to go into the Army without being chastised for participating in our military. I see demands coming in from the big banks. I see demands in welfare being offered to corporate America. However, I see no demands sitting on the table coming from the African American community. Have we arrived, people, as African Americans? Hell no, we haven't arrived. Because why? Because we're still at the bottom of the food chain. We are still at the bottom. But there seems to be this air amongst us of contentment because we have our first black president. There seems to be this air of ignorance of thinking that we have arrived, which we have arrived from nothing. Nothing. Ain't nothing changed. And what I mean by that? Well, back in 1972, they put together an agenda. And like I said, it's one of the most articulated agendas of our time. But the things that they talked about in their agenda is what we're dealing with today. The issue back in 1972 was national health care system. an urban version of the Homestead Act, a Black United Front, a minimum wage, as well as effective enforcement and antitrust legislation. Well, we're still here. Healthcare is on the table right now. Is in the Supreme Court, looking to be considered unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. They was looking for education reform. Our kids aren't learning nothing in the classrooms. Right now, as we speak, the African American community probably had the highest dropout rate in the nation. We are still the most unemployed and the most incarcerated. The communities in which we live in are not our communities. They're just communities in which we live in because we have no economic control or resources that come in and out of our communities. All the corner stores and chain malls, that's owned by the Arabs. All the beauty supply stores are owned by the Asians, in which we shop and give our money to. 9 times out of 10, the same people who own those stores are not providing any resources back into the community. So we pretty much giving them the money to take out of the community to leave us less powerless, to keep us powerless, and allow these foreigners to come into our community and exploit us. What did I mean by exploiting? Not only do they take the money out of our communities, but you have some stores in the urban communities. Let me break it down to you. Here in Chicago, I'm going to break it down what's going on here in Chicago. Then you might see the same thing that's going on in Detroit, Cleveland, California, New York, Atlanta. Here in Chicago, a lot of your corner stores, which is run and controlled by the Arab people, are using the young kids on those corners to sell loose cigarettes. Loose cigarettes is now the new crack game on the corners. So what you hear in the news about shootouts and wars on these corners, people, these are wars because they are trying to secure their corner to sell these loose cigarettes. Loose cigarettes that's provided by the store owners of these stores because they can't sell broken cartons. So they get the young African Americans, kids, exploiting them by selling it for them. Now here in our city, the police are knocking upside the head the young African American kids that are selling these loose squares. However, they're not touching the store owners who are providing these kids with the loose squares to sell for them. That's exploitation, because these Arab owners don't give a damn about your black babies. Instead, they're using them as tools to do their dirt. And you talk about the fight on terrorism and the fight on shutting us down here in America, putting restrictions on us. What in the hell is the money going once these Arab store owners are collecting the bread? Is anybody doing a paper trail on where they're spending their money? When you talk about the fight on terrorism, here it is right there in your face. So, the black community right now, we are at the bottom of the food chain, and if I was the president of the United States, I have no idea of what the hell do you want, because evidently you feel that we are content. Let me read something to you right quick. The housing bubble coupled the recession caused the median wealth to fall by 53% for African American households. Poverty rate for African Americans. Black America, the poverty rate. Black Americans is 25.8%, and the unemployment rate is only at 16.7%, a whopping 83% higher than the national rate of 9.1%. African Americans in the penal system, with black males representing the highest ethnic group at 35.4%. 35.4%, and I believe that's even higher. African American male population inside the prison systems is at least 50%. And we have the highest prison rate population in the world. We reported that here on Globally Speaking. African Americans are more than likely to attend high poverty schools, that is, public schools, where more than 75% of students are eligible for free or reduced price lunches, and are less likely to graduate from high school and subsequently attend college at rates lower than any other racial group. While 13% of the population, African Americans represent almost half of the million people living with HIV today. While we have more African Americans elected officials than ever, more African American millionaires than ever, and better technology and tools for communication than ever, Our agenda has remained the same for over the last 60 years. Over the last 60 years, we have done nothing to present to the table. Nothing. Yet we remain stagnant. People, what the hell is going on? I'm talking to all my brothers and sisters of the African American community. If y'all want to say no, don't put this responsibility on the president, but damn it, what are you doing for yourselves? If I was the president of the United States, where the hell is the list for me to help you? You are at the bottom, people. The Hispanic population has taken second place. They have put you in third. All you have to do is look outside your door and look how your community is deteriorating. All you have to do is pull up the books and see what you do not own.